So my father, Jay Craven, has been operating Semester Cinema, which is a sort of fusion filmmaking project that involves professional actors and department heads and college students. So I have been working as a journalist for about 10 years now, and was brought in to sort of coach the students and guide them in, developing a focus of the project, and then sort of securing subjects, writing questions. I had alongside me Patrick Kennedy, who's a well-established documentary filmmaker. He helped with all of that, as well as providing technical support, editing, lights, camera, sound, that kind of stuff. So we all landed in Nantucket in January 2024. And early on, we tasked the students to do sort of a deep dive into the island's history, as well as current events. We gave them, logins for the Inquirer and Mirror, access, links to the current and other news sources. And very quickly, housing emerged as the sort of biggest and most sort of urgent, issue that the island was contending with. As a journalist myself, as a writer, I think there's a lot you can capture in a newspaper or magazine article. But as I'm sure you can relate, there are some times where you witness something and it feels kind of impossible to fully capture on the page. So I was excited generally to have an opportunity to work with film, though there are many challenges in that work. Specifically convincing people to appear on camera can be really hard. And the sort of, the equipment itself can be imposing, and it can kind of squash the sort of intimacy and trust you build, in as like a print reporter. But I think really what we hoped with the film was that we could sort of move past some of the tropes that mark this coverage, and also sort of some of the cynicism and divisiveness that can market. But with this film, we really wanted to try to capture as broad a spectrum of people as possible. Not simply, cast this as the result of, the wealthy elite buying up homes and sort of morphing the real estate market. That's obviously a major challenge, but there's a lot of other stuff too around regulation, conservation, the environment, also the fact that a lot of year-round residents are skeptical of building more housing for a number of reasons, including the fact that, their equity is now built in their homes that they got, 20 years ago. And so to sort of greatly increase housing stock can actually, really threaten their stability. So we really wanted to try and be holistic. Islanders, like many communities, were skeptical of us, I think, because they were worried that we would sort of, engage in some sort of like blinkered perspective that simplified everything. But we had a whole semester there. Certainly, none of us have spent years on the island, but I do think that being there for a long period of time, also being there in the winter, we earned some stripes just living through the brutal cold and the snow and everything else. And so we had the space and the time, I think, to sort of pierce through, the sort of basic beats of the story and come up with something more comprehensive. Partly because the film emerged out of this educational program, Semester Cinema, I think that led us to really emphasize the film in many ways as a teaching tool and as just like a really hopefully compelling piece of information. So, we include a lot of statistics from advocates just about the housing market, about the challenges about getting a mortgage, about the sort of, tension with conservation. And from there, we sort of try to figure out and spotlight what are nuanced, fixes for these problems or remedies for some of them that are informed by all of these sort of various factors at play, not something simple and sort of blunt, but a real sort of like holistic idea of how various factions can work together, what can be accomplished, what specifically regulatorily can happen. And then undergirding all of that, we have these stories that are very personal, that hopefully gives some sense of why this issue is so urgent, and why, lawmakers, the public, need to sort of act quickly, because things are moving very fast. People are leaving the island. Some of the subjects that we interviewed just a year ago have already left because they can't afford it. So, the advocates that are in this film have now seen it, and they're hoping to send it to lawmakers on Beacon Hill, and, other advocates, other nonprofit housing authorities on the Cape and Islands, but also in other places that have seasonal tourist communities that are dealing with a lot of these same issues. So, it seems like the sort of main goal that the advocacy community on Nantucket wants now is the permission from the State House to enact a real estate transfer fee, similar to what the Land Bank does. And so hopefully they'll be able to use this film to help cajole some lawmakers over this session. We're going to try to show the film in Boston if possible, and sort of support that. So I think if there's sort of one simple answer, it's trying to support efforts to pass that, to secure that fee.